This episode contains sensitive content. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Culture Podcast, where we uncover the hidden mechanics of high control groups, their tactics, and their impact. And we speak with the survivors who broke free. My name is Derek, and I'm your host.
My name is Trinity, and I'm also your host. On this podcast, we explore cult life as real people who have lived through the life-changing process of leaving a high control group.
Today's guest is someone that we have never met.
Never.
We hope he's a Jehovah's Witness or an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Otherwise, he's got a great tale to tell, and it's all fabricated. But I do kid. Welcome to the podcast, Ben.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm excited to chat with you guys.
So, as I'd mentioned, you grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. I think one of the interesting things about chatting with you, Ben, is you're probably the youngest guest we've had on so far. So I think there's an allure in my mind, at least, just to kind of get your take on your upbringing, just in the time frame that you are, because you said you just turned 25.
Yeah.
And so I think that not only in addition to whatever you have to say as we chat, and just to reiterate, this is a conversation. So even though Trent and I will kind of have questions, different things, by all means, if you have questions or anything, just treat this as a regular conversation that we're having.
This is the second conversation we've ever had. We just warmed up for 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
you're getting the raw first time us meeting Ben. Yep.
But yeah, so I guess just to start out, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, since we don't really know you at all? Just kind of, a little bit about you, and then, where you're from, where you grew up, where you're at nowadays, and then just a little bit of your upbringing.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Ben. I'm 25. I currently live around Seattle, like 30 minutes outside of the city. We moved here from Phoenix last Christmas. I grew up there for most of my life. So like 5 years old to 20 something was Phoenix. And prior to that was California. So yeah, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. I'm like a fourth generation Jehovah's Witness. Like my dad's dad was one.
Wow.
Well, ex Jehovah's Witness now. Let me make sure I specify that. Yeah, so that's pretty much the basics of my story. I could dive into stuff, but just keeping it vague for that moment.
Yeah. And then with you, so you were born in?
Yes, yeah, born in. My mom was not born in. She was 18, 19 when she became, but my dad, like I said, was
So the fourth generation, so your dad decided to just find someone off the streets that wasn't a witness. What a shady guy.
I know, right? No, so she was in a Catholic household in Texas, and a witness just showed up at the door, and she bought in super hard. We had an aunt that was in California. She moved over there to live with them and to kind of get more indoctrinated. My dad was there and was like, "Oh, here's somebody,"
Yeah.
and they fell in love. So
Wow.
I mean, we've only just begun chatting with people, so I don't have, an extreme amount of data, but I do find there's a lot of parallels where the women seem to be the ones that take to it and bring the men in.
yeah, I don't know if I've experienced that a bunch, but I could definitely picture that happening. I mean, my mom tried to get her whole family in, but super devout Catholic family, it's hard to do that. But yeah, that would make sense.
Did you have some like, since you had Catholic family as well, what was your interactions with the family that wasn't Jehovah's Witnesses?
So super like taboo. I view everything like internet was taboo growing up. Everything was taboo. So like the idea of hanging out with my family was like exciting, but my parents would keep a distance from us. If our cousins came around, it was like, you know, you can hang out with them, but we lived away from them for a reason. We lived in California and Arizona, and they're all in Texas to try to keep a little space. So I was really excited whenever I got to see them.
That's very similar to how my family was. Like, going to see my cousins was a treat. It was exciting. It was scary because it was like we're getting the talk beforehand, like their bad association, their
Yep.
bad things. You don't want to, do any of those things. So I can identify with that for sure.
I remember hearing that on one of the podcasts when you were talking about your cousins. I was like, man, this was my exact experience.
Yeah.
Did your mom ever give you like a little bit of insights, or was she always pretty much, "Hey, I'm now no longer Catholic. I'm going all the way JW."
Mm.
She was all in, like all in. She would talk negatively about her Catholic upbringing, like hardcore. That was like her. Uh, I don't know. That's kind of like whenever she'd be talking about what she came up with, she would like throw Catholicism in the garbage. And
And were you saying that, Trent? Like when you were talking with Natty,
Saying what?
that there like a lot of Catholics, can kind of see some of the problems within Catholicism and do end up finding, witnesses as an option.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I think, a hospitable religion in some ways because they're very devout, very faithful. And whenever they see the issues with Catholicism that a witnesses might see, they can. I think I've talked with a lot of Catholics who are really surprised at how we view the Trinity or at how we view certain things. The family aspect is very similar, like tight families. But then there's many Catholics who are extraordinarily devout.
mhm.
I mean, some of these you'll never shake their faith,
Yeah.
just like you could not shake some witnesses.
So Ben, just going back to you, and I think that's some good insight, Trent. What are some of your earliest memories connected to the witnesses? What did it feel like growing up as someone who was a Jehovah's Witness? And again, as I mentioned, my mindset is also in this era, like growing up in the early 2000s. What was it like for you?
Um, so the first memories I have, I think, are super like cliche, like, future CO. Everybody says that to you. That's just to try to get you to feel super special and like you got to dive all the way in. But, you know, conventions in California, that was really exciting. It was a spectacle. I remember whales on the walls at the convention centers, and like it was really fun actually. When we went to Phoenix, we got a lot less fun because I'm not on the beach at the convention. I'm in the middle of Tucson.
Yeah. There's that there's that little area where, like, you walk across that little bridge over there, and then there's, like, a grassy area, and the weather's great.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a
Yeah.
paradise."
And you look out and everybody's got picnics going, and you're like, wow, this is like the
And
pictures.
you get back to, "Where's the fucking tigers to play with, man?"
Yeah, for real.
And then, yeah, then you go back to Phoenix, Arizona, it's 120 degrees,
No, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
and
worst.
you're sweating in
Yeah.
Tucson.
Yeah, staying at the Sheraton Inn. All the cool people are at the Radisson. Uh, so, and then I think your second question about my experience being maybe a little bit younger and like technology being a bigger thing. I think
Mhm.
from a very young age, I immediately got like a ton of information. So it was like a lot of perspectives immediately. I didn't need to go find it. It was thrown at me, like whether it was YouTube or things like that. That media wasn't as regulated, so it wasn't like some CNN or whatever big company making sure that the information getting out was like politically correct or whatever the word would be. I was just hearing from a guy in Iowa, talking about something, or gamers saying their perspective on whatever. And for me, it like helped me to kind of crack the mold, I think. So
Because you're getting the outside perspective.
exactly.
So you remember early on, even though you're growing up, like, just hearing a lot of voices that gave you, like, a bigger picture of what was going on.
Yeah. And you didn't have to look for it. It was just, you know,
It was just there.
Satan was good at
Gosh, yeah, he is.
yeah, he's the best.
So and then obviously there's a large part, like, when did they introduce the JW library? Because I feel like you probably, like, since early memory, you're like, "Oh, of course we have
Yeah.
all the apps."
It's hard to remember a time that I remember having a physical paper kingdom ministry
Yeah. In a minute.
or whatever that was called. That's what it was called, right? The little
Yeah.
um but like I have a vague memory of that. Most of my experience was the library, JW
I
library.
was
That's
just gonna say
crazy.
I was kind of shocked when JW Library came out, and I found that it was actually missing a lot of stuff that I really wanted. Uh, but no, I still remember when it came out, and I barely used it. That's crazy
Yeah.
because like you grew up with it, I hardly used it compared to how much I used the actual books and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other interesting thing too is, as Trent and I talk, and it's like, yeah, with you, we're kind of the old guard. And then we talk to someone who maybe be 60, 70. They're like, "Oh, you guys don't know what, the reality of how we used to study." The
Yeah, we could smoke
yeah,
cigarettes.
yeah. Yeah, back in our day, we celebrated Christmas.
Mhm.
So so what was it like for you? Like, what was your schedule like with your family? Like, are you a only child?
I have a sister, she's 5 years older than me, and she's also out, which is awesome.
Oh, that's
She
great.
was way more in than me. I wouldn't say way more in. She was just a better witness. I was not. Like, I
Yeah.
was a black sheep of, like, the congregation, but I stuck around, and everyone kept trying to get me, to kinda lock in, and it just wouldn't happen. But my parents still together. My dad was an elder growing up, but he had a lot of, intense, health issues that kinda pulled him back from doing that.
Mm.
In regards to schedule, there really wasn't one. We didn't do family study. We would try, and my dad would do it, and then like 4 minutes in, my mom would be like, "Well, you should do it like this," because we didn't know I had ADHD at the time,
Mm.
so I'm like not paying attention, and then he would blow up, and like we would try again in a year and a half, and it would last 3 minutes that time. So
I wonder what the actual ratio is of people that actually did family study.
I know the ratio of people who try is better than the ratio of people who do it.
yeah,
Well, and that goes back to what I think is constantly happening. I think no one's really talking about what's really going on. So everyone just assumes, of course, everyone's doing family study but us.
yeah, yeah,
But there's probably truth to like no one's actually doing this.
yeah. We probably did it 4 times, maybe.
Wow.
Did you have it ingrained in yourself to do like your own kind of personal study? Like was that part of your routine?
I had guilt to do it and intent to do it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I would have these stretches of like in my teenage years, like I would like I say teenage years like they're super far away. But
It's all good, brother.
I would I would do something bad and I would feel guilty about it, and then I would be like, you know what, I'm gonna get locked in on my personal,
Double down.
yeah, and then I would do it twice, and then it falls off immediately.
Yeah, I think that's an unfortunate cycle that always happens with people where, I've talked about this. It's like your natural kind of inclinations lock in, and then inevitably some talk or part comes out or some article, and you read it and you feel bad because you're not adhering to whatever, or it gets to your
Yep.
dad and he talks to you and kind of tries to get you back in line, and it's like this inevitable cycle of you always getting back in line
Yes, exactly.
about every single whatever, major things, minor things. It's just constant readjustment.
Yeah, it was like anxiety inducing, like 24/7.
And your dad was an elder.
Yeah, but like he was an elder. He was like, I have a good relationship with my parents still, so I don't like speak super ill of them. But from a spiritual perspective, my dad did not like. I'm almost glad he didn't because I probably wouldn't be having this conversation with you, to be honest. But he was very like, oh, I got to make sure I comment at the meetings, super cliche stuff. But like, we'd go home and there'd be no like, we wouldn't talk about the Bible at all until we got back to the hall, and I needed to look like I was doing really well. I needed to comment 2, 3 times sometimes. Could only get up for the bathroom once. Whenever I get up, he put his finger up,
Wow.
and like it was super obvious that it was like that's your one time.
Wow.
So
Did you ever have a moment growing up with your family where you ever talked about how like there's two versions of us?
I would bring it up, and my dad had like anger issues, and my mom was really good at. My mom was I don't know what the familial role is called, where like it's the person that's trying to keep everybody at bay 24/7.
Like a protector.
Yeah, so she was trying to keep the ship steady all the time. So I'd bring it up, and then she'd kind of pull me to the side and be like, "Well, your dad has health problems, so just go to your room, play Minecraft," and then we wouldn't talk about it again.
Honestly, she seems like a real one.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, definitely.
And they're both still in right now?
They are both still in. So when me and my sister left, there was obviously like a lot of rumors and conversations in the Phoenix area about that. My parents moved to Texas. I think a percentage of why that happened is because they didn't want to keep having to explain to people where their kids were. Yeah,
It's all about the move away, man.
yeah. So they're in Texas now, and we have a good relationship with them. They hang out with us. They don't really bring it up ever. and they don't push anything. So,
Yeah, it's so at this point, you would probably say both you and your sister have kind of faded?
yes, faded, but like we didn't do it like it was quick. For me, it was like I was going to meetings and then I just stopped immediately and I like ghosted. So
Good faith.
I disappeared more
Yeah.
than faded, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Have you and your sister talked about, like, is there, like, actual stuff in the air? Like, "Hey, we left. Like, we're no longer
Oh, yeah.
we don't identify as Jehovah's Witnesses anymore."
Yeah, we have a fantastic relationship. It was like we re-met like after we left because
Mm.
we've been playing these characters. That's how it is with most witnesses. You when you meet somebody after, it's like, oh, who are you actually? Because we've been playing these
Yeah.
characters for this whole time.
For sure.
It's a
Yeah.
great way to
That's a
put
great
it.
way to put it. H
So,
how did
um,
that conversation go? Or has it kinda been through multiple conversations? How's that been going where you, like, have really put it out there?
really well. So she's part of the reason I left. So my whole time growing up, I kind of didn't want to do it, but I didn't. I don't think I had unlocked the piece of my brain that like let me think that big. I didn't see any way out. I just kind of bought in, but then I would still be doing stuff I'm not supposed to do, and I wouldn't comment. I didn't go out in service for like the last 5 years. But then one day, my sister, I'd lived in California for a while. I came back to Phoenix and talked to her. I find out she's not a witness anymore. Meanwhile, she'd been like pioneer going to Costa Rica to do, and so hearing that, I think,
She's a need grader?
yes, she's a need grader. And I think that flipped a switch in my head of like, oh, I can stop too. What the heck? I moved in with them, actually. They were like my way out. So,
What was it that made her stop?
so her husband stopped first, and he's just like a very meticulous, like logical thinker. And so I think when he stopped, everybody close to him was like, okay, there's something he doesn't make emotional decisions. So it was like there's something going on. He stayed a witness for probably a year or so while he was just not attending and he wasn't pushing anything, but I think just inevitably that happened.
There's I guess I would like your opinion on this, Ben, but I feel like there's a fear that a lot of people have growing up because of how we're raised, where you may consciously try this, or maybe it just kind of comes out where you kind of put a doubt out there, you say something, and then you don't get quite an alignment of like, and you're like, oh, I don't really want to speak my mind like that again. And so then
Yeah.
so you learn from that experience and you're like, I don't really want to put out, some of these thoughts to the world, even if it's like a sister or a father or a good friend. And in this case, your sister's husband. And so you all just stay in thinking
Yep.
like we're all like, and then eventually over time, it could actually come out like, oh, we've all just been staying in for each other and none of us want to be in.
Yeah. And we were kind of hoping that's how it would be with my parents too, because they didn't really push like family study and things like that. So we thought maybe that would happen. Hasn't yet. Fingers crossed, who knows? But that's definitely what happened with us.
So growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, you no birthdays, no holidays, no kind of ability to kind of pursue your own kind of dreams, own kind of thoughts. What was your like normal day and kind of growing up like? And then what are kind of some major things where you feel like you missed out on when you were younger?
Um, I think major things I missed out on was just time with my family, my mom's side of the family. Since I've left, they've like taken me in super intensely and like the love has been amazing. Holidays over there in San Antonio. So I just kind of mourn that time having not happened. I remember my cousin Diego, one time he came into town, I was probably 15, and he waited till the day after my birthday and he gave me like a new set of drumsticks and he was like, "These aren't for your birthday," and winked. And I was like so excited. I used those forever. They fell apart. Like they were thrashed by the end, but I didn't want to get rid of them. So I think that's a big one. And then I can't remember the second part of the question.
It was just like what your life was growing up, what you missed out on, and kind of like I don't know, looking back on even just like from you're still young relatively, but what are some major things where as you start to reflect, and I guess I want to backstep, like how long have you kind of been out now again?
Two, 3 years. We're
Okay.
pushing three. Yeah. So relatively new.
So any major things? Because like I personally look at like I have stories of I remember being in high school and getting invited to prom.
Yeah.
And for me, that was like really awesome. And at the time, I had a worldly girlfriend. It's funny we talk about like these amazing experiences of getting baptized and you're dedicated. I literally got baptized and I had a worldly girlfriend,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
and I wanted to go to prom, and this is just one example of many for me where I was super conflicted because I always felt shame and guilt about having a worldly girlfriend. Um, my parents ended up finding out and I had to tell my girlfriend at the time I couldn't go to prom. She had bought a dress, everything.
That's crazy.
She's just sobbing, and I was like, "Well, fuck it. I'll just break out like at night and go." And they take me to Phoenix from Flagstaff
Ah,
and actually take me out of town.
they're playing chess.
And we yeah, so they're like, "There's not even a way you can go out tonight and make this happen."
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's like bullshit like that where you're totally right. They're totally playing chess. Like, oh, we're gonna go on a trip to Phoenix, uh, and then we went to go see a Suns game, and I felt like super conflicted because the game was fun to watch,
Yeah.
but
I was gonna yeah, you love the Suns.
I love the Suns, but um, it's just little shit like that where it's like, gosh, like I miss this moment. Is there stuff like that you can recall that in your brain, or like because this fucking religion and this cult or high control group that I grew up in, I lost some of these opportunities.
Yeah, I think so I did the online school for most of high school. I For the first half of my freshman year, I went to Desert Mountain High School and I started to kind of like a girl that was there. My mom found out immediately I'm just in online school.
uh,
So
Whoa,
like just the idea of like there's a girl I went to Panda Express with one time. Boom, I'm
in a different school. That's crazy.
so I kind of yeah, so I there's not even really anything to mourn or miss or be bummed out about because I didn't even get the opportunity.
yeah,
So I think the thing I'm most frustrated about is like you meet a lot of people and they have connections from high school that turned into connections in college that turned into connections in whatever. When I moved to Seattle, I'm here with my girlfriend and it's like completely clean slate and there's no and even in Phoenix, same idea. There was no friends that I had because I was in online school for like my formative years. And then because of that, you also don't really have the ability or you're not really well trained in the ability to make friends because they were kind of given to you on a silver platter as long as you hit the check boxes of like
Yep.
what you were supposed to be as a Christian. So now when you're a regular human being, you can't just show up and be a good guy and your friends are going to be there like you're when you are a witness. You got to like relearn how to do that when you're
yeah.
20.
It's a hard thing to do. And the really unfortunate thing about the clean slate is that it's usually empty and pretty lonely while you're filling it up with, the right stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and think about the harder it gets the older you are when you get out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not realize, like, in your 20s, um, it's like, oh, it's going to be difficult to like meet new friends. And it's like, dude, the older you are, people like, I always say, like, people aren't accepting new applications.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, the older you are, it's like, nah, we're good. We've had, friends for years. And I do feel like, and this might be an unknowledgeable bias of mine, but it's like younger people, they're accepting applications. They're like, oh, hey, great, let's like you can meet new friends pretty easily, but I'm sure it's still challenging.
I have a real life experience.
Yeah.
I'm here at QuakeCon 2025, and there's a lot of people that are closed off to talking in the line, but then there's some really awesome people. Like I've made two genuine friends, like you strike up a conversation with someone who just really matches your energy and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that we're all under 30. So even within, the 20 to 30 age range, you have some people who are accepting applications
Yeah.
and then some that are not. But
Yeah.
from my experience here at QuakeCon, the younger the better for making friends.
I just think that was like probably the biggest learning curve when I first left cuz for me what I've noticed for a lot of people, because I've had some friends leave and then go back since I've left, and I feel like a lot of people walk out and they immediately expect like their life to feel like the Project X movie, where just like
Oh.
like there's just girls that are like, oh yeah, let's do this, and there's like
Yeah.
people like, here, try these drugs. It's like a charcuterie board of drug. Like that's just not the way it works. So I think that's the biggest thing is like when you leave, you're like, what do I want and how do I achieve it? Do I want that crazy or do I want something more, relaxed?
You know what sucks is kind of in that same vein. You have to kind of learn how to be cool
Yeah,
in your own way.
yeah,
Like I don't think I've ever heard anyone say I had to learn how to be cool. But like out here, you kind of have to be cool. You have to have a cool factor if you want to make some friends. You got to be confident and outgoing.
yep,
And as a witness, like learning that stuff from zero, that can be hard. You have to learn how to make friends and be cool enough to make friends.
yeah,
Well, and it's also really easy, like growing up, where you're like, even if I don't know this person, I already have a few talking points.
hmm,
I have a foundation where we can easily like slide in, like, oh, what congregation do you go to? Oh, you start. Oh, I know this person. I know this person. Like,
yep,
you're kind of striking up a chat, and then it kind of leads into music or whatever. Like, and when you like meet people, and you're like, the other wild thing is, I've said this before, is like deep down, a Jehovah's Witness, and again, this could apply for any cult, any high control group. It's like you're all kind of the same, at
yes,
least how you present.
hmm,
And then as you get to know people that aren't part of this, that's a system that we were involved in. Gosh, everyone's so different. Everyone's so varied, multiple layers of like, oh, I'm very political. I really dive deep into this subject, and you're like, I never ever spoke about this subject ever in my entire life, to a certain extent. So I actually find it very fascinating. I have a curiosity where I'm like, this is wild. Like, to actually meet someone that really genuinely cares, about how important guns are. I have 73 guns on my wall. Like,
yeah,
what? It's just really interesting. So you're in Seattle now. You're fairly close to me. I'm in Oregon,
yeah.
and actually Trent's in Texas.
Okay, yeah.
So
Yeah, sure.
Um, how did you what's the time frame? Okay, and then I don't think we addressed it. So I sorry for the listeners that we're kind of bouncing all over the place, but did you and your sister get baptized?
Yeah, I was baptized when I was like 12,
Oh,
maybe 13.
Pretty.
It was my birthday month. I don't know exactly. And then my sister was baptized too, and she I mean like she was like the pinnacle of like a pioneered like she was everyone loved like her from a spiritual standpoint.
how could you not remember your baptism day? It's one of the most important days of your life. You've dedicated your life to Jehovah God.
Dude, I immediately did not care. Like I think I should clarify like I was the worst witness. Like I everything was performative, but I carried the fear, which
Mm.
was also complicated for me because I didn't really believe any of this stuff, but then when it would get too windy, like I would have to pull over. I'd be so like afraid because in my mind I was like, "Oh, it's happening now and I'm
Oh.
not making it." It wasn't a matter of like, oh, it's happening now. Here we go. It was like, oh, I'm dead. Like, there's not a chance. I'm in there.
You carried a deep seated fear of Armageddon.
24/7. COVID happened. I was like, this is it. I'm not making it. That was like always in my head. I'm not making it. I'm not making it. And I kept doing the things that made me feel like that because my faith
Yeah.
didn't like it. There was a
You're talking about it so easily, but I want the listeners to hear how easy it is for you to talk about living in perpetual morbid fear of losing your life at Armageddon.
yeah. That sucked.
That's sad, and I'm really sorry, man. That shouldn't have ever happened to you. That level of fear.
That's actually 1,000% a trend. Like, it's really interesting as we talk with people, and there's certain things that you say, and you just say it so nonchalantly and jokingly, and you move on. And it's like there is some heavy weight there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I wouldn't be good at helping this conversation with Trent go along if I didn't address, like, you can't have fear of not surviving Armageddon if you didn't feel like you were living up to those standards of God.
Right.
So, is there anything that you could touch on at whatever level that you want to touch on that was a constant fear and shame, guilt that you were doing that made it where that actually was fearful?
Yeah. It was just for me it was girls. It was just dating and like doing like pornea.
Sure.
That like I would read about that and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, if you breathe on them in a different way,
Yeah.
you're going to hell. Jehovah's inventing hell for you." Like, that was my main thing. I would like drink a little bit, but not really like I had little phases of that when I was a teenager, but that my main thing was just like I just knew what I was doing was going to get me in trouble. I got reproved for it
Mm.
once as well. So,
Me too, brother. I'm right there with you.
yeah.
And when you're talking about getting reproved, are you talking about, and again, specifically, whatever you want to touch or not, are you talking about like watching pornography on the internet? Are you talking about masturbation? Like are you talking about did you get with a woman, a girl?
Yeah, so the big thing that they kept pushing when I got reproved was the idea of pornea. Like they kept trying to like acknowledge what that was, which was like this really confusing definition of like the spectrum of like kissing a girl to like full on sex.
Mhm.
And
It's like the catch-all of everything.
anything in between was just like you're in
Yeah,
trouble
yeah.
no matter what.
Straight to jail.
So,
And I would imagine your age, like access to the internet,
yeah.
like you could watch whatever you want.
Yeah. But it was with a girl who was a an elder's daughter that
Mm,
I did these actions with.
Mm.
We had been dating. I broke up with her. This is a pioneer elder's daughter, but that part of the story pushed my fear too far. I went to the elders
mm.
and told them,
Mm.
yeah, and got reproved publicly.
It's so interesting because I don't know how they do this to us, man, but you felt so much where you're like, I gotta go tell them.
Yeah. It was 4 in the morning. I was on the phone with her. I was saying, uh, I was like, I've got to tell somebody, I've got to tell somebody.
You gotta confess your sins.
And my dad like just happened to be up. Yeah. And I told my dad at 4 in the morning when he was just trying to go to the bathroom, you know? And yeah, that was a crazy process. Took like 2 months.
Ugh. Do you feel like you got the result you were hoping for? Did you have like a weight lifted, or did you feel worse?
I did kind of feel a weight lifted because she stopped like pushing this agenda that I felt like was happening.
She did it. It kind of reset the power balance between you guys.
Yeah. She would still show up. She like brought a letter to my front door, handed it to my dad though, and would like call me and say like she's outside and she'd just be down my street in her car. And I'd just be like, go away. Like so there was
Wow.
a weird
Mm.
yeah, it was kind of really uncomfortable, unhealthy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate, man. That's sorry. I'm sorry to hear that happened, but it sounded like, was that something that helped you kind of like have a mindset shift where you're like, after a while, you're like, man, this didn't go the way I'd hoped. Not only with the pioneer sister and woman, but just this process. I got reproved. I didn't really do as much as people think I did.
I think so initially after I was like, all right, this is cool. This clean slate, this shaves off everything that I've done up until this point. I can start over now.
Hmm.
So I tried for a little bit. It probably lasted 6 months. But the lasting effect of that situation was that elder hated me
Oh,
and my reputation started to precede me like intensely as like this horrible guy.
yeah.
So anybody I'd meet, it reached a point where like I'd be at a party, it's been years. I'm like shaking somebody's hand. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm Ben," and they're like, "Oh, you're Ben," and then like
I
I
didn't want to say anything, but I heard about you from this.
really,
No, I'm just
oh
kidding.
dude, I'm like, what? You were not a witness at that. Was it in the
You're
AZ
like, I
Central?
can't get away from it.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I gotta hang up.
No. So okay, so you had this situation happen. You got reproved. Where was your life kind of after that? In the next like 6 months, year. What was the trajectory post reproval from this situation?
Post reproval was I actually got my privilege. I hate saying that word. I'm gonna change that word. I got my stuff I had to do back. Like
Well, for listeners that may not know, you might as well just say it and explain it and why it's so triggering.
yeah. So when you get reproved, it's like you get spanked basically because it's like Disfellowshipping is like, all right, clean slate, cut this guy off. He's donezo. Reproval is like, we almost got this guy. Everybody should know. He's keep your eye on him. So they take away what's called your privileges. Privileges being
Yeah.
just responsibilities and shit you got to do, like being able to go out in service, being able to comment, running microphones, that kind of stuff. So
So, yeah, that's a good recap. So but then you did finally get your privileges back. So you worked hard to make that
It's
happen.
very much like something that would happen in Severance. I don't know if we're watching that
Oh,
show still,
yes,
but
I haven't seen that. My girlfriend watched it without
oh
me,
no.
but if she hears this, it's not her fault. It's my fault because I was probably playing video games or something. But
that's great. So then you got your privileges back. You're running mics. You're helping out.
yeah,
Do you feel like you're realigning, or at this point you're still like, I'm just going through the motions?
no, actually, my hall it was like a month. My hall needed mic runners, and they were like, "Oh, we lost our guy." Because I'm in Scottsdale, Fountain Hills area. There's like the average age is like 104, so you need the mic runner guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you actually bring up a point we just talked about when we were talking with Dustin,
Yeah.
which by the time this comes out should have already come out. There's levels to witnesses.
Yeah.
There's people.
And everyone wears a different mask and different type of mask.
I was just going through the motions. They had me like I'd be doing sound and I'd just be watching the football game on my phone in the sound booth. Like I did not care. I ended up in but I had the fear. So like when I say I didn't care, I don't mean to come off as like, oh, it's too cool. Like I was scared, you know?
Yeah, but I do agree with you. Like, if this is all you knew, you might just have a personality type that wants to be a little more out and kind of do their own things. But like, you believe.
Yeah, I at the very least, like my common theme that I feel and felt was I just felt the fear. Like everything was fear motivated. I didn't feel the love. I didn't feel like, oh, this is filling up my like joy cup of my heart. It was just like constant fear motivation.
As you're going through, you're 17, 16, whatever. Like, do you ever recall coming across like clear apostate material online?
No, the only thing I remember is like people being outside of the hall with like posters. They did it obviously at conventions, but also at our hall. That was the only other time.
What? You're at your hall specifically?
Yeah, there was two people standing outside, basically like trying to get hit by cars with poster boards. I don't remember what they said because my parents told me to look away, but
I feel like that's a rarity.
Yeah, that
Like, they must have gone to that congregation, that Kingdom Hall. That
was this in North Phoenix?
yeah, it was Shea Heights, so it was Scottsdale on Shea when you're basically going into Fountain Hills.
I recall in like the 2012s or something, the 20 aughts something, there was a slew of really weird things happening in like the North Phoenix area. Kingdom Hall was burned down,
Oh yeah,
and I remember that was I think my Kingdom
that's
Hall.
crazy.
Um, yeah, and then there were I do remember specifically at least two times where there were protesters or people with signs also causing issues with traffic.
Wow.
So I can't corroborate the year. This is just, my memory, but I just remember some weird stuff happening up there that was like, what? I've never heard of protesters at a Kingdom Hall or
Yeah,
and I think there was maybe more than one Kingdom Hall that was burnt. Like they tried to get more than one, only got
that's
one.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, I never heard about that. That's wild. And but stuff like that happens, and unfortunately, I imagine on occasion, there's an unfortunate loss of life if a Kingdom Hall gets burned down and someone's in there, which is tragic. But there is that always that mindset of like, how is Jehovah's Holy Spirit on this Kingdom Hall? How are the angels protecting?
yeah,
It's there's always these weird, and I don't know where you land religiously now, Ben. I'm sure we can talk about that, but there's always this weird, like, well, how is God protecting us in this moment, but then not this other moment? It kind of plays into some of that stuff.
Let's ask the question now. Like, where do you land now?
Yeah,
What's your spirituality like?
yeah. So for me, at the moment, I'm kind of agnostic. My mentality and kind of where I was at when I was a witness is like if God is real, God is evil.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of intense, but like that's just where I'm at. I don't know where I'm gonna end up in my journey, you know? I remember being at the hall, I'm like 15, and my first thoughts were like, I understand the logic that they have of like, oh, well, Satan's the one doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And the analogy that I always had in my head was like, if I was a father and I had like 100 kids and they just like weren't listening to me or something. And then I was like, all right, fine, you guys all go out into the backyard. And then I send a wolf out there and he's just ripping them apart, just going to town. And they're all like banging on the glass, asking for help. And I'm like, man, I love you guys so much. I can't wait to help you one day. I would be in jail. I'm a crazy guy. I'm insane. My ego is unreal, unchecked. I should not be allowed to exist. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the justification that they try to give is like, well, it's not God doing it, it's Satan. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Yeah. So what you just did was showed a really astute understanding of simple Socratic method of like logic and rationale, where there's so many witnesses that will never ever have that thought. But the way you approach that is so true, and it's a really good analogy that if any man were to sit by and watch this many people get hurt, it would be it would be illegal.
yeah, if the justification is because somebody questioned you at one point in the past and now you need to prove to everybody,
Yeah.
and so you're willing to like let children get bone cancer, you're crazy.
And you're referencing Adam and Eve's original sin. So way back, Adam and Eve sin,
Right.
and because of that, God sends he Satan has rebelled. Satan is thrown down to the earth. He tricks Adam and Eve. For listeners who aren't aware of that.
Well, and I actually take it mentally another step further because you had mentioned, oh, if this was Satan, and in my mindset, well, God created Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this structure of the Christian religion, sometimes people think, Satan is the exact, evil opposite of Jehovah or God.
The way that Satan is treated in the Bible makes me question how powerful he really is, because frankly, it looks like he did a strong rebellion and then won
Yeah.
from his perspective, because he not only stands up to God in his own house, sure, God throws him out of the house, but then he gives him the entire world and supposedly gives him the power to tempt and trick and hurt everybody. And, then witnesses are praying for protection and stuff, but we have kingdom halls being burned down. I mean, it sounds like he got the good end of the stick on that.
Yeah.
You would wonder why, if God was all powerful, he gave Satan such a good deal
Yeah,
Yes, that's
and
true.
stays out of his house completely. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah. And what I think it's important to, and I find it interesting that so many people don't really dive down these kind of mental questions, this research, this, whatever we're taught. Let me really get kind of the full picture of the stories we've been taught. So many people just accept it as it is. And yeah, the more you start to really question and kind of look at things, you go like, man, maybe I don't, there's some holes here in some of this.
Yeah.
And then once you see the holes, you can't unsee them. They just get bigger.
Yeah. And I think too, like for me being just like a guy, there's been billions of people, thousands and thousands and thousands of years of existence. Like for me to think that I can figure out the answer to like what created everything or whatever just feels like kind of arrogant. Like I'm okay not knowing. When I first left, everybody was like, "Oh, well, if you're not a witness, like what do you believe?" And I'm like, "I just don't. Like I don't need to have the answer." And I'm okay with that
Yeah.
for now at least. I don't know as I get older,
Yeah.
people change, but
So if I was to recap like a couple of your things, so some of your mindset about not wanting to identify as a witness and be a part of it is you really just kind of wanted to do whatever you wanted, kind of wanted to pursue just living a free, carefree life. And then you also found a little bit of loopholes in some of the doctrine. And so those two things kind of didn't sit well. Is that like a good, really high level recap? And is there anything else a part of like your deconstruction that we should touch on?
I think that's pretty much it. The main thing for me, I think, was just like not feeling like I wanted to lie to myself and everyone around me my whole life. Gonna mention also while I was in, all of my best friends, like one by one, my three like main childhood best friends got disfellowshipped. And so one from when I was like 0 to 10, he got disfellowshipped, and then the chapter of like 10 to 15 got disfellowshipped, and then 15 to like 20 left. So that was a challenging part for me too, because when they left, I was just left with like a bunch of witnesses that, like, from a social standpoint, thought I was like this kind of not very spiritual black sheep kind of guy. And so that was a difficult part of my process as well in leaving.
I wanna ask a question. So, do you feel the fear today?
Not at all. It was like, the second that, like, I realized, oh, I can stop, I just, like, there's not even a moment of like, oh, maybe I made the wrong decision, or maybe, it just,
So, at what point did you realize this isn't real enough for me to fear? Was it after some time away?
yeah, so my aunt, who's 95, lived in Huntington Beach, and I was 21, and I 22, and I moved over there to help her, like, kind of be her live-in care person. And that was like an 8-month stretch of, like, I'd left Phoenix, I'm now in California, nobody really knows me. I have a lot of time to think and be alone and, like, really kind of process stuff. Long story short, by the end of that, I'd had that dinner with my sister I mentioned, where she told me she wasn't going anymore. And I just started trying to figure out my way out, which was I moved back and lived with them. But the last, like, two meetings that I went to, two or three, I was just like popping an edible and then going to meeting and running mics. And dude, doing mics a little elevated is the craziest thing ever. Because
Wow.
I remember
Yeah,
standing
I
at the
believe
back,
that.
I probably looked so zealous, like just smiling so hard. And they'd be like, sister, whatever. And I'd be like, and they'd be like, Brother Nielsen, sister. I'd be like, oh yeah.
Wow.
I wish you guys could see his face right now. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
It's really funny because I was so good when I was in.
Yeah, me
I
too.
was so good. I hear some of these people doing stuff like that when they're in. Like I really believed. I really believed. I had my, I guess you could say, issues with women as well. You know, but other than enjoying women and wanting to be with women, which again, in my opinion, is very natural,
Hmm.
all that other stuff, I mean, the thought of me being in and having an edible at meeting, no way.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
way.
Yahweh.
That's how much I disconnected very quickly. Was
So, can you tell me about like the moment? Because there must have been like this talk with your sister. She tells you some shit, and you start thinking like, I'm agnostic now, or maybe I always have been, and just cut the cord one day. But like, is there a thought that you had where you're like, oh, I'm free?
I don't know if I had a thought where I was like, oh, I can now allow myself to not believe this, but I had a thought of, like, I was so depressed and I was so like an outcast socially because I wasn't spiritual enough, that it's
Because your reputation had been taken.
right. I dated.
What was that, Trent?
I said his reputation had been taken from him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So your reputation had been taken from you.
Yeah, after that, that first girl I dated probably three or four, and all of them either cheated on me with a more spiritual guy, or like left because, like, the people around them were saying, "Oh, you need to go find someone more spiritual." And so the repercussions of that, and like kind of getting thrown around from friend group to friend group. I remember my thought right before I decided I'm done was, there's no way I can get lonelier or more depressed than I am right now,
Mm.
no matter what's going on. And I wanted to remember that, so that maybe if things got a little dark or tough, I could look back and be like, that was worse.
There are like tough things that each person has that are kind of their own tough things. And I know that there is a level of like, if I'm not doing enough as a man and a male in the congregation, if I'm not meeting these kind of expectations, it can be kind of heavy. Like you said, like in your more spiritual man,
Yeah.
there's a weight of being like the head of the house
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
taking the lead and doing all these arbitrary things that to them is so important.
Yeah. I remember,
Which it can be tough.
there was a girl that asked me one time to, like, do a family study with her while we were dating. And I like tried, and then I was like, oh, let's try this next time, like a different plan. And I was like, this isn't gonna work. And so we broke up because I was like, I'm not even gonna. I was like, this.
It's like an interview. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And she just married a guy from Bethel. So
Oh wow. Well, there you go. I wanted to recap. So what happens, I think, with witnesses sometimes is they say hook up,
yeah.
and I really want to clarify what that means because you said that other women hooked up with more spiritual men. I think that's kind of how you phrased it.
Right.
Now, are you saying like For real hooked up, or what are we saying when we say hooked up? That's fascinating.
So yeah, so for a few of them, there was a few of them. And it's all on a spectrum. One of them did. One of them pretty much did. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Uh, and then other ones where it was like more emotional cheating and like kissing somebody while we're still actively
Yeah.
dating. I found out one time a girl I was dating, someone was like, "Oh, how do you feel about this person now dating this person?" And in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, she
Mm,
said I love you this morning. So what are
wow.
you talking about?"
Whoa.
You know? But it was always for a guy that was a servant or trying to go do this or that, you know?
That behavior is kind of reprehensible to
That's
me.
gotta be tough, man.
It seems to me like that's not what good witnesses should be doing.
Yeah.
It's multiple personalities that can
Yeah.
flip on and off based on who
Yeah.
you're around.
It's funny to me also that in an alternate universe, like you guys might have like been the people trying to like encourage me. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Oh yeah, yeah.
Like we're talking like this right now, but if we went back like 10 years, you guys would be like, "Come on, service with us." And like, you know,
100%.
or however many years.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's a constant. We're told to do something, so we do it. We may have some doubts or fear or shame or guilt, so we do it. We don't do it.
Hmm.
We feel bad about it. We're compulsive to do it. But
Yeah.
it happens because you're just in the cycle. But it's I'm thankful that you along with us are out of the cycle and we're kind of starting our new cycles, our new routines, our new world. Our
How do you feel today?
Uh, I feel much like happier. The fear's gone. That's the biggest thing for me. And like once I left, I got like my very quickly, I got my dream job. I'm dating a beautiful girl. We have been together for almost 2 years now. And so dream job, dream girl, moved to my dream city. Like what I say to people is like it's just funny how when you start putting Jehovah last, everything works out.
wow.
You know? Like very quickly I just got happier. And I feel like that's just something that resonates. I feel like would have resonated with me a lot if I was listening to this and I wasn't actively somebody that had left, you know?
I love hearing that, man. I re- I really do love hearing it.
Same. Congrats.
Every type of conversation we have is always going to be slightly different, and it's always great to hear, like when anyone doesn't go through like an amazingly like horrible, horrific, traumatic experience that causes them to want to leave or get out of this, and it seems like in your case, which is great, you didn't have a lot of that.
I I played a lot of like we mentioned chess. I played a lot of chess to try to leave quickly and quietly because I was moving from California to my sister's in Phoenix and I didn't want people to be blowing up my aunt about where's Ben, where's Ben. So I made a Google Voice phone number.
It's
I
smart.
called a hall that was in an area in Phoenix with that Google Voice number. I gave them a fake address that I knew was in their territory. Don't even know this hall. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so excited. We're moving out there. Just got to get my cards sent over to you guys. Can't
It's
wait."
calculated.
Yeah. And then as soon as that, they're like, "Okay, awesome. We'll text you when we get your cards. Can't wait to meet you. We'll see you Sunday." Deleted the app. And then I moved to Phoenix and I haven't heard from anybody since. So I don't know if that was necessary, but I haven't heard from anybody.
Wow, man,
So,
that's really smart. I I I,
Sounds like you did a smart
I do
move.
want to ask you because I'm really curious. wh- Um, how is it? And I'm sure maybe you've had multiple girlfriends and experiences, but how has it been dating post Jehovah's Witness, and then also specifically the woman you're with now, who you've been with for a decent amount of time? How has she been as a partner, kind of helping you navigate living this new life?
it's been so much healthier. Like it's when you're a witness, like the dopamine hits are crazy because you're doing things you're not supposed to do, and like the roller coaster of emotions of things being okay and then not okay because you're maybe like going out and sneaking out and doing whatever you're doing. Just the idea of like a love that's like steady and we're not breaking any rules or needing to stress about this or that, and I don't need to like you know navigate something like that is just so calming. She also was a witness as well. So she's out.
Oh, okay.
She'd been out for
When did she get out?
she was married before and got out pretty quickly after that, about I want to say 5 years ago. And so we've been navigating it together. And I think it's really nice to have those common denominators in our upbringing. And then also when you leave to meet somebody
Yeah.
that like you align with after as well is a rare thing. So
Yeah.
we re-met, like I mentioned, at a New Year's party uh, about a year and a half ago. Well, last, you know, whenever, last 2024.
Yeah.
So it's been really nice.
How has it been, with, like, community for you? Have you found a new community? Have you found, shared new experiences? How's that been?
That has definitely been a tough part, especially moving. When
Mhm.
I was in Phoenix, I had a lot more connections, but I wanted to take the leap and come here and kind of, you know, whenever you drive by Bell Road, I've got memories of witnesses and stuff, or you drive by Cactus or Indian School or whatever. So I wanted a clean slate city, and that's been really healing. But also, it's definitely tough to try to navigate that. But we haven't even been here a year, so trying to be patient with it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes time.
Well, yeah, if I'm in the area, I'll definitely have to look you up, and we'll go get lunch or something
Yeah, that'd be
because 'cause
awesome.
I'm not too far. And then what about some of these new experiences, celebrating the holidays, your birthdays? Have you dove into that?
Yeah, so I just turned 2 years old a month ago. So that
Nice.
was really fun. Holidays, we've been going to San Antonio for like Christmas or whatever with my family. Halloween has been really fun. Also, Day of the Dead, I'm Hispanic, so like just the idea of being able to do that is like a really emotional thing for me. I don't even know if my family really did that because my mom kind of cut that off, but just it's really fun to do. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. That kinda brings up another thread in my mind, like, I don't know if it's probably just because 'cause I'm white, like, but I felt like there was no mindset of mine growing up of caring about my roots whatsoever.
right, yeah.
What's up, Trent?
Like your heritage. You didn't care about your heritage or your
Y
like that.
Yeah, my heritage, and now it's like, no, I kinda do wanna know. I wanna know my roots, my history, my lineage, like,
Yeah.
I find it to be really fascinating to start to tap into that, and, Trent's talked about his a little bit, and is that something that you've started to kinda look into?
Yeah, I think for me, when I was a witness, it felt like from a legacy standpoint, because I've been told I'm legacy minded because I think about that kind of stuff a lot. But when I was a witness, it felt like, all right, I think a lot about right here on into paradise. Whereas now, because I feel like my time on earth is like more sacred and shorter, I think a lot about like here back. And like how did I
Yeah,
get here as opposed to where am I gonna
yeah.
go, you know?
Yeah, that's great, and then what about your worldview? Like, how is your worldview now? Like, just, how do you see the world? Are you have different curiosities now that you didn't before?
I think it's been a few years, but I feel like I'm still in that phase of like kind of just breathing. So I haven't given it a ton of thought. I
Mm,
think the main thing about my worldview is like when people talk about how like horrible things are, like witnesses their talking points of like things are terrible, look at this and that and that and this. Like I can look at it a lot more logically now and be like, okay, things suck a lot right now, but things have always really sucked, you know? Like there was a time where like the Black
mhm.
Plague happened and like one in every three people died. That's crazy, you know? That's probably worse. We would
Yeah.
all rather be here.
Well, I've come to learn that people have a very short memory when it comes to history,
Yeah,
and there's oftentimes people will say, our old governing body included, it's the worst time it's ever been.
yeah,
And it's like, no, it hasn't. I mean, try living in during the era of
yeah,
one of the world wars or some of these plagues. We have a lot of recency bias because we haven't lived through it. You can only kind of say like, oh, I lived through a pandemic, and so for you that was a horrible experience. But talk to someone who's in their 90s, or really older, and it's like, they had
yeah.
some crazy shit too, man. So if you could talk to your younger self, you're still younger, but if you could look back and you saw a kid inside the Kingdom Hall, what would you say to that kid? Like, now knowing what you know.
I would be afraid to say anything because I feel like I'm happy with where I ended up. And from like a standpoint of messing with the time paradox or whatever, I'd be afraid of saying something that maybe scares me into being more locked in and then I'm not here, you know? But if I was gonna say something kind of vague and not like, oh, you can get out kind of vibe. I think I would try to just talk to myself about like not letting the witness social scheme affect my self-worth. Because when you buy into that game, it's all you have. Or at least for
Mm.
me, it felt, because I didn't have that much faith in the whatever. Really, all I had was the social games, and I was not winning. So, you know.
I think that's really wise. Yeah, I think that's a really good mindset. It just
Mhm.
I don't know, man. Our lived experience has shaped us. So, the more and more you accumulate new lived experiences with the right mindset, I think it's going to go well. And what I do know too is because of the way I was raised, um, I have a very critical eye towards things. I have a hopeful mindset, but I also have a mindset of like, I'm not going to easily just accept
Right.
your truth as the truth, your facts as the facts. Like, I'm going to want to kind of dive in to kind of see what's going on because the
Yeah.
last thing I want to do is join another cult or another following, or another person. So
A lot of people do that.
I have a little bit of trepidation about just like, yeah, let's go give it a shot. It's
Yeah.
like, let me look into this a little bit. And what I usually find is the answers that I find are not quite acceptable enough for me to really dive, head in.
Yeah. A lot of those things are, I think, things where you have to just buy in and dive at a certain point. Faith applies to a lot of things, whether it's
Hmm.
like a super intense political group that you want to align yourself with, or something else. Like at a certain point, you just kind of decide, this is what I'm gonna do. I think so.
Yeah, but I do think eventually people do lock into something.
Hmm.
I do think it's great to have an era of exploration and freedom, and in some sense, that is an identity. I'm a freedom traveler, an explorer. But I do believe that eventually, like, you'll probably find something, and hopefully it continues to align with who your true self.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess just lastly, like, is there anything maybe we didn't touch on? Like, we're super grateful and thankful for anyone coming on the podcast, and anyone reaching out to want to kind of lend their voice to this conversation. My mindset with this podcast, and when Trent and I first talked about doing this, is just providing a space for everyone at any level, at all levels, age groups. Is there anything you like? I'm so glad to be a part of the podcast and part of the conversation, Ben. Is there anything that you kind of wanted to say to Trent and I, and also people that are listening in?
No, I'm really appreciative of the space that you guys have created. I've never experienced something like it or heard something like it. Normally, a lot of these podcasts are really like intense, and it feels like they're attacking witnesses. And while I feel like that is warranted, I feel like there's a space for just kind of talking through your experience. And I think for anybody listening, I don't know if there's a high percentage of witnesses that listen, or like people that are physically and mentally out a little bit or questioning. What I would like to share of my experience is that like sometimes things just work out, because I think it can be terrifying. You feel like you're jumping off a big ledge and things are going to be really difficult and whatever. It's only been good for me. So if you feel like you're in a tough spot, just dive is what I would say.
Yeah, you have to take. I mean, it's ironically, it is the leap of faith.
Yeah.
You have to take that step forward. For anyone that's upset with their current situation in life, the only one that can help you change that current situation is yourself.
Yeah.
You can get help along the way, but no one's going to take the footsteps for you.
Yeah.
Um, and I agree with your sentiment, but I personally provide a level of caution. Is like it's more than likely going to be challenging.
Yeah.
For
It's going to be work
uh,
for sure. There's some hiccups and some things you got to navigate that you're not going to be familiar with.
yeah,
But it's also exciting. There's a lot of fun things and a lot of new
yeah, that's
experiences.
great. Trent, anything else you want to add before we close out?
No, I just want to say thank you. This was genuinely the second time we talked. We had met for a couple minutes before then, and it was really great to get to know you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks so much for providing your voice to the podcast, Ben. And like I said, Trent's in Texas. If you're over by there, you got someone to meet, and I'm super close as well. So look forward to eventually seeing you in real life.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, my friend, and thank you everyone for listening. And we will speak with you soon.
Thank you for joining us on this journey in this era. If you found today's episode valuable, please share it with someone who might need it. Check the podcast description for our socials and other information.
Please consider supporting us at Patreon at patreon.com/culturepod. If you'd like to tell your story, please contact us at cult.ture.pod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay free.